Let's jump in, Cart. Ausar Thompson for the Pistons was phenomenal last night. He's been good, I would say, every game that he's played. You and I were frustrated after the first Summer League game because he was playing alongside Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and James Wiseman, and he was really uninvolved. I had a little conspiracy theory that Ivy was intentionally not giving him the ball because there were some very obvious times to give him the ball that he didn't get them. That would have been dunks in transition, and Ivy just didn't see him. Game 2 was better. Ivy definitely found Ausar much more often. He looked more like a part of the regular offense. But game 3 is when we finally got to see, oh shit, Ausar has the ball and he's the primary guy every single play. And Carter, he was everywhere. He was phenomenal. Defensive force, blocks, steals, just ripping the ball from Grady Dick. Offensively, he had no-look passes, full court outlets for and ones. He had high-flying dunks from off the dribble where all of a sudden he's at the rim half a second later. He was hitting jumpers. He was hitting off the dribble, creating step backs, a buzzer beater 3 with a hand in his face. This dude looked like a future NBA all-star, and I'm scared of the comparisons that are coming to mind for me. How are you feeling with Ausar right now?
I mean, it's just like when you watch him, he just pops. Like you see him out there. And it was very refreshing, like you said, to see him in this role without, the guys like Ivy, Duren on the floor. And he stepped up to the moment. Like he wasn't scared about it at all. He was handling the ball. And I don't want to be like one of those, I don't know, I kind of sound like one of my old coaches when I say this. But one of the things I noticed about him, at least in last night's game, besides him making all these plays and stuff like that, is that in last night's game, he had about 6 turnovers. And, some of them were him trying to make plays, him trying to do things, maybe being a little bit loose with his handle, which is, commendable mistakes. I appreciate him going hard and things like that. But every time he would turn the ball over, he's right back on defense. Or if it's a live ball turnover, he's sprinting back and he's getting a steal. One of his last turnovers, he actually lost it out of bounds, might have got fouled by Ron Harper Jr. He comes back the next play, literally jumps in the air, steals the ball on a post speed, just some freak athletic play, goes the length of the court, lays it up, gives our team the lead or ties the game. Like it's things like that. And then you send me, you see the post game interview, like this kid's just wired differently. Like he's one of those wired differently guys. And if you want to bet, if the pre-draft notion for him was if he gets a jump shot, if he does these improvements, if I'm picking a player that has the mindset and seems like they're going to be a player that's going to improve, like I'm betting on Ausar to do that. I'm betting on the Thompson twins to do that. Now our next step is to figure out how to get Amen to Detroit, because this twin saga ends in the twins teaming up. So we got to make sure it's in Detroit and not them teaming up in Houston.
Yeah, I just am in love with both of them. I think these two are going to dominate the NBA for like 2 decades if they stay healthy. Obviously, Amen got hurt his very first game and has missed the rest of Summer League, which stinks. But I mean, these two, you talked about the mental stuff. That's very important to note here. And sometimes that stuff like gets exaggerated, like for various reasons. Like that clip of Amen listing off every guy that's been drafted and knowing exactly what pick he was taken with in the last 15 years. That caught my attention. I'm like, oh shit, these dudes like really are fans of NBA lore. Like they pay attention to that. That's cool. That doesn't necessarily translate to being like a high IQ player, but it caught my eye of like these kids are smart and they love this game. But then you watch Ausar play, dude. Like I swear he makes the right play 99% of the time. Like there hasn't really been a moment where he's tried to do something that I've been like, what is he doing? And even his turnovers, like when he has dribbled it off his foot or dribbled out of bounds, it's like it's a time and place that makes sense. Like he had the advantage or he had a one-on-one situation at the end of the shot clock where I'm like wanting him to attack like that. He just fumbled the play and he needs to tighten his handle up a little bit. Mentally, he's there. Like he's ahead, I think, of any player I've seen in Summer League ever.
His feel for the game is impressive. Like,
well, it's like
it's funny because like you said, everybody says like, oh, Amen's the point guard. Amen's got feel and vision, but Ausar's out. Like that spinning past the Sasser who smoked that 3 was one of the most impressive non-assists I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they use him as a primary like ball handler, like he either blows by his guy for a score, or he blows by enough to get an advantage that he draws help side and kicks to a wide open guy. That happened every single time he touched the ball. When he touches the
Gets the
ball in
gets the
transition,
rebound, one or two dribbles, looks up, like hits the guy. Like
when he touches the ball in transition, he just like like he'll give the ball up to get it right back. Like he's thinking so far ahead of everybody else. And I feel like when he was trying to do that with Ivy had no idea how to operate with him. When he did it with Sasser's like, oh, I just throw the shit back up. He grabs like that. We haven't even talked about the oop that he ends up with a reverse on. Like, you know how easy he made that look? You know how difficult that play is? Like, he didn't need to reverse it at all, but he like predetermined in his head he was going to reverse it and made it look like it was a layup. Like,
you want to know the best part? You want to know the best part about that is we've been talking about how we love Ausar this whole time, and we've yet to mention that he's like a freak athlete too, doing stuff like that. Like
yeah.
it's the other things on top of the freak athlete. We got Detroit. We got something.
So
All right.
I can't watch a player I love without some sort of conspiracy theory. I want
Here
to
we
throw
go.
this out there. I want to throw this out there. You've heard this from me in text already. I think Ausar is the better twin, and NBA Twitter, NBA scouts, everybody fucked this up. And here's why. I think like whenever I asked people, because I asked like our boy Nima, not to throw Nima under the bus, but like after seeing Ausar for one game, I texted Nima in a group chat, was just like, hey, why was the consensus Amen? Like, these dudes look pretty identical to me. Like, what was the reason? He was like, mostly just Amen's a freakier athlete and a point guard. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, Ausar is not lacking on freak athlete. So if Amen's ahead of him, great, congratulations. But like, there will not ever be a moment where Ausar is not athletic enough for anything. It just won't happen. Two, if Amen's a point guard or he played point guard, that's cool. I'll take the guy who averaged as many assists as the point guard while not playing point guard. Like, that's more impressive to me than the guy was the point guard and averages exactly what his brother did playing small. Like, I am so impressed with Ausar in every way. There is not anything I've seen other than, I guess, the jumper. But dude, I like the jumpers he hit off the dribble with a hand in his face last night. Like, you're telling me that guy's not going to shoot in 2 years? Like, he just might need some reps, some practice to be like a catch and shoot guy. But it's not like he cannot create and make shots right now. Like, he is not a Rajon Rondo non-shooter. He can make shots. He already is.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I because I'm a Detroit Pistons fan, I always go to a very dark, probably negative place after this. But in my head last night, I was thinking like, does Ausar need to be our point guard? Like,
Yeah.
what? How do
So
we do? How do we do this?
how does it fit with Ivy and Cade is the question. And it's a fair one because one, Cade needs to stay on the floor, and two, when Cade does stay on the floor, he's extremely ball dominant because that's how you use him best. And he's a half court guy. I've talked to you about that. Like, can he play in transition? Yes, but Cade is just slower. He's methodical. He picks you apart in the half court. Ausar's not. I think Ausar can do that, but like, we want Ausar flying. And Jaden Ivey, coincidentally, is also best utilized in transition like that. So I don't know. It's three guys that I think all think they need the ball. I will say I liked Ausar. You could tell there was a different level of like vocal confidence from him when he wasn't with Ivy. I think when he was with Ivy, like Ivy made some boneheaded plays multiple times, and you could tell Ausar was frustrated, but he just like put his head down and kept playing. When Jared Roden like did not make an extra pass, Ausar was on his ass. And
Yeah.
that bodes really well for me that like you heard him in the post game. He said like they were like, what's the number one thing you need to do long term for this franchise? And he was like, lead vocally, lead with my actions. I love that answer so much, but I believe him when he says that. Like, I believe that this dude is just a guy who reads the game at 100% level, always makes the right play, is super unselfish, and is going to be really frustrated when other guys don't. And like, I think it's only a matter of time long term that if he's playing next to a guy who often makes the wrong decisions in Jaden Ivey, for as gifted as he is, like Ausar is going to eat that up at some point. So I guess to answer your thing, like if there is one guy long term, I think falls out, it's Ivy. but I also don't feel confident Cade can stay on the floor, and I'd rather have Ausar have the ball in his hands than the other two. Straight up.
Yeah,
I
I
like,
mean,
man, I love him.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm fine being in this situation. Uh, to put a bow on this. I think we got a steal at 5. Like that. I think that's a given. Which is good after the distraughtness that we had to go through. I don't even know if that's a word after we got the 5th pick. And I feel like the next step, honestly, is to figure out between me and you which one of us is Amen and which one of us is Ausar.
Yeah, that's there's multiple ways I could answer that. I had two in my
We'll
head
circle
that
back
were
to that like
opposite.
All-Star break. We'll circle back to that like All-Star break.
Last thing I want to say, I think Ausar Thompson is a taller Dwyane Wade.
Woo.
Record it, clip it, do whatever you want with that. I don't care. I don't care if that comes back to bite me. I'm convinced off of 3 games of this guy in summer league. I think he's like. I was trying to think of any player I've ever watched that is this athletic, that is this smooth in everything he does, and
Oh,
also like,
6'7" LeBron.
well, that's crazy. You just can't go there. But like he floats around the court like Wade did. He's a defensive genius like Wade was. Those two guys, every single game, we're gonna get you like 7 steals and blocks combined, just because they're freaks mentally and physically. And then offensively, like Wade needed to develop a jumper a little bit. He was always a great playmaker. Like he didn't come into the league as a point guard, but you knew you could get 5 assists from him because he's that good. Like I really think I looked at Wade's rookie year numbers. He was like 16, 5, and 4. I think that's Ausar this year. Like, and I think long term, if we want him to, I think he's like a 22, 8, and 7 guy every single night. I really do. I think he's Dwyane Wade.
Oh, I'm buying it. You see, I'm not denying it.
All right. I can't wait. Wow. It feels good to have something we love in
It
the Detroit
it feels
uniform.
it feels really good.